Hey guys, Joe here. It's Friday, this July 16, 2010, and this will probably be a short video for once. Um, this guy, Matt Simmons, he's been on a few news channels talking to him several times, and the whole time he's like, what are they doing? Why are they doing these tests? Why are they going down there and doing that? The thing's leaking miles away and even closer, but for sure, several leaks is what he's saying that make this thing look like a walk in the park. Like, what are they even doing showing these little ROVs going down there and showing pictures of this cap? And it's absolutely absurd. This is what he says. So who is Matt Simmons? Infowars.com. And I did the research too. It's pretty accurate. Oil Industry Insider and CFR member predicts Gulf evacuation. CFR stands for the Council on Foreign Relations. Buried in an article on the Gulf of Mexico scenarios and predictions, Joel Achenbach of the Washington Post, which is where the elite always release a lot of the info about what they're going to do, to the Washington Post. Why? Because the Washington Post, either the owner or a high-level guy, I forget his name, goes to the Bilderberg meetings, the elite meetings. So anyways, it quotes Matt Simmons, and he's saying we're going to have to evacuate the Gulf states, and this thing is leaking all over the place. It's not what you think it is. BP's lying, actually. So anyways, that's one thing. And last night, I think or sometime yesterday, he was saying the same thing too. Basically saying this is absurd. Why are they doing that? They should be telling the American people what's going on, and they're just covering it up. And they're not going to be able to cover up a freaking oil leak from the sea floor. And maybe right now, when they put this cap on, they're going to pretend like, oh no, we put the cap on, it was going for 12 hours or however long, and then bam, it blew out of the C4, we lost pressure, now we got to find out where it is, we'll get back with you in a couple days, right? When in fact, it was already miles away, they already knew where it was, but they're going to pretend like when they just did this test, it went over there and blew out somewhere else. That's my guess. That's just an opinion. It could roll out like that. So here's something else that's even more interesting. On 9/11, days before 9/11, maybe a couple days, I think, before 9/11, literally days, there were put options put out on all of the airlines, which I think there was 2 airlines, that their stock would plummet. Put option means I'm betting on the stock market as opposed to the stock going up. I'm going to bet that within this date range, the stock's going down. And if I'm right, I will make just as much money as if it went up. So that's called a put option. Many people didn't go collect the money after it got exposed that there were put options, and we need to investigate where they are, who did these trades, how could they have known that in advance. And of course, the whole thing got covered up. We're not going to look into it. They didn't collect the money. It's not important. Hell yeah, it's important. We could find out who was responsible for 9/11, right? Anyways, that's a whole nother story. Here's what we're talking about today. Before it's news.com. Interesting options volume for Centerpoint Energy. Unusual volume of put contracts was traded today. There were 713 put contracts versus the 10-day average volume of only 55 per day, roughly. 713 come up all of a sudden. Normally, they see 55 a day, roughly. Now, that's interesting. For every 27 call contracts, which means they expect it to go up, there's one, on the call side, there's 27 call contracts, which means for every call, there's 26 put options betting that's going to go down. So that's 26 to 1 is what this is saying. 26 to 1 odds, in other words, someone's thinking, or multiple people are thinking, that stock's going to go down out of nowhere. 7/13/2010, posted by Leo Goldman. And then there's also another, says unusual trading activity for Iron Mountain Inc. That these are actually, I think these are call options, I believe, on this one. I'm not sure what Iron Mountain Inc. is, but that's not important right this second, I don't think. Here's someone's comment. What's interesting about this is that Centerpoint is in Houston, Texas, and provides energy to the Gulf region. Iron Mountain is a record storage company with about 9 record centers in Houston. Iron Mountain is the world's largest records company and stores records from most of the Fortune 500 companies. Maybe BP or Centerpoint, I don't know. Okay, ready for this? What is a center point? It's a target. Just like the logo for the store target. Just like the logo, the store target. I circle and a dot. The dot is a center point. It also represents the inner circle, etc. But here it could mean a target. It could be a false flag on an energy company in Houston, which could blow up the Gulf to cover up for the BP cap that wasn't going to work anyways. But it could also be an evacuation of millions of people in the Gulf who can't pay their bills per month anymore. And it's investors that understand this could happen and are protecting themselves. Therefore, some of the insiders basically are going to be putting these put options on that company because they know it's about to go down the tubes. As far as Iron Mountain, I don't know. But I bet they hold some very important records for big players in the Gulf. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. I don't know who this person is. Anonymous comment. This is 7/13/2010. So within days, let's see how this rolls out. Again, if it's close to that Texas coast and people are evacuated, because these people who know this, and the insiders or whatever, these insiders, they may know specifically which regions are fixing to be evacuated, because they may say, okay, look, we know the ocean floor, the Gulf floor, it's got multiple leaks. This is just a dog and pony show for the American sheeple. Really, they're drilling these wells to get ready to plant some nukes, whatever, civilian-type nuclear explosions, whatever they call them. And they already know this in advance. Therefore, their buddies who are high up know this in advance. They're going to short their positions on the energy company because they know the energy company isn't going to be delivering too much energy to people who aren't going to be living there for a while because they're being evacuated or they leave or whatever the case. They may be forced to evacuate by the government if the government says, listen, this well thing failed, the cap actually failed, we've now found more leaks, the pressure is showing that it's too low, blah, blah, blah. It's leaking out miles away. We just found this out, which in fact they didn't, but they're going to tell you that. And we have to evacuate the closest place to the oil leak, which happens to be this Texas area and this area and that area and that area, whatever. Therefore, if that power company is serving all those people, then it's probably safe to say they're not going to be making too much money anymore while this catastrophe takes place. So, either that, or the other option is that some kind of insider people are well in advance thinking, well, maybe there's going to be evacuations. Maybe there's going to be a problem, and we're going to gamble now and put some put options out there just in case. That doesn't sound right, because no one works off of chance like that. Well, maybe there'll be evacuations. Maybe they're going to have to leave, and we'll take a beating on the power supply company stock, so we're going to short it now just in case. Or, put the put options on them just in case. No. Just like on 9/11, they didn't do that just in case. Somebody knew in advance. So this is actually pretty interesting. Quite interesting. Coincidence? Again, how could it possibly happen right now with the Gulf oil disaster? That an absurd amount of put options come out of nowhere for this little, power company. Anyways, let's keep our eye out, because again, here's another opportunity for people like us who are paying attention, that if this happens and the put options were the right move, just like BP selling their stock in advance, Goldman Sachs selling the BP stock in advance was the right move, these people know well in advance it's going to plummet. So, having said that, we will have a way of catching people who profited from this and then have them investigated when the time comes, if they're evacuated and this whole thing plays out as predicted by whoever the hell placed these put options. Anyways, that's a lot. That's something interesting to think about. So, talk to y'all later.